Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Kevin and this is the Wrenchin' Fool. So in this video we're here in my garage working on my 2022 Chevy Bolt EUV. And so the project for today, we're going to be putting on a trailer hitch. On the website, I bought it from Etrailer.com, not a sponsor, but it lists it as a 10 out of 10 difficulty to install it. I'm not sure why at this point, but let's get it out of the box here and have a look, see if we can find out. So this is everything that comes in the box. Like I said, I did buy this from Etrailer.com, not a sponsor or anything. I paid for this myself. So it's a Draw-tite brand trailer hitch. You might be able to see the part number over there. If not, I will put up a picture of it. You might also be able to see it over there. And then also bought separately is the wiring kit to be able to get the trailer lights wired up to the existing wiring harness without having to cut or modify anything. And then also I've printed out here the paper instructions. Those don't come in the box. You do have to print those out separately from a PDF on the website on etrailer.com. So it says here it's only hour and 15-minute install time, but it says on the website, like I mentioned, a 10 out of 10 difficulty. So I don't know if this is actually going to be difficult or not, and my experience might be a little bit different because I have worked in the past as a professional automotive technician. I have almost 16 years or over 16 years of experience professionally working on cars. So your mileage may vary. Looking at the instructions, it doesn't look terribly complicated, but we're going to find out. So let's dig into this and get started. So step one is technically to jack up the car. I guess you don't technically need to do that, but I've chosen to do it just because I'm not exactly small and I'm going to be under the car filming, so I need the space. The first step in the instructions, though, is we need to remove these panels here. And it says to remove the two circles here, and then there'll be some screws underneath that we need to take out. And then we can take this whole panel out of there, get access to the taillights. So looking at this more closely and also checking out the actual Chevy repair instructions for taking off the bumper cover here, I'm not exactly sure why they had us pull those two screws out of there. I'll leave them out of there for now just in case I'm missing something, but I don't think we should have to do anything with this taillight. And this panel actually doesn't come off. It's part of the taillight. It's all permanently attached on there. I'll leave those out for now, but I'm going to proceed with the rest of the instructions for taking the rear bumper cover off. So our next step here is to get in there and remove the lower two bolts or screws I should say, that are holding the fender liner in. And you can kind of see them in there. There's one down here at the very bottom. There's another one right here. They're also T15 Torx, so I'll just use a ratchet to get those out of there. So this next step can be a little bit delicate, but basically what we have to do is we have to pull back this piece of plastic trim right here that goes over the wheel arch. Now it's attached down here to the lower bumper cover, so we can't pull it out of there, but there are some push pins that hold it in along here. And we need to get access to a bolt that's right about here holding the bumper cover on. So the best way I've found to do something like this, the plastic is a little bit malleable, so if we kind of push on it that way, you can see that it opens up a gap right here. So we can kind of attack from this side. So there's multiple push pins that are holding this in. We need to pop about 3 of them out to get enough flexibility to move this thing out of the way. So looking at it from the back side, inside behind the fender liner, there's one that's right about here. The best way I've found to pop these things out of there without breaking them is to sort of get in and push directly on the clip itself. And that way you can usually pop it out and it doesn't break the clip. So I'm going to do that. And again, you just have to be careful here because you're working with plastic and painted plastic here. The best way that I've found to do it is with a clean rag and a sort of a large flat blade screwdriver. You just kind of do something like this so that you've got the cloth up against your paint there and you're not going to have any risk of chipping anything. And this one I should be able to get to without having to use the thing. There we go. And like I said, it's hooked in down here to the bumper. So we kind of have to pull it out and pull it up like that. You can see it's got a little hook piece there that goes into the bumper. And then right there is the bolt we're trying to get access to. All right, so there again is the bolt we're trying to get access to, right there. Now this plastic piece over the wheel arch is a little bit flexible, so you can just kind of pull it back out of the way. Just use some common sense there, you know, don't pull it so far that it's going to start breaking or whatever. You know, you can kind of get a feel for it. You can probably pull it, I mean, you can pull it back enough to get to the bolt. Just don't go reefing on it too hard. So this is a 7mm bolt, 7mm head, I should say. So we'll just take that out. Come on, there we go. All right, there we got that out. No marks on the paint. Next up, we have a screw that's right here above the brake light and the reflector assembly. Now it should be obvious, but I'm showing you only one side. It's going to be the same thing on the other side. It's pretty much just a symmetrical design. So that's another T15 Torx. Just pop that on out. There we are. All right, now we get to do the fun part underneath the car, which is why I jacked it up. So under here we have 4 fasteners total we've got to remove. We've got these 2 on the outside edge, if that will focus on there. Focus, there we are. So there's a T15 screw on either side. So there's one there and one over there. This is hard to do under the car. And then we've got these 2 push pins in the middle here. So we've got one right there and one right there. Just in case it wasn't clear how these push pins work. So they're in 2 separate pieces like this. In the car, it'll be together, kind of like this. So all you have to do is get something under there, screwdriver, whatever, to pry the 2 pieces apart, pull them out like that, and then you can pull the whole thing out. So as far as I can tell now from our instructions, we should be ready to pull the bumper cover off. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a pain, just because there's like a bunch of clips that hold it on there, so you have to kind of give it a little bit of a tug and a jerk to get it off of there. Just use some common sense. Don't chain it to the wall and drive your car out of the garage. You know, just be gentle, but, you know, a little forceful, a little gentle. So let's see how this goes. So it's best to usually start on one side and just kind of work your way around. Now there's a wiring harness over there on the driver's side that I still need to disconnect. So I do have something sitting under there to sort of set the bumper on once it comes disconnected from the car, so we can get that wiring harness out. There we go. So you do have to get a little bit forceful with it, like I said. It's got all these clips up here that just sort of lock it in place. They'll come out, you just have to give them a little oomph. So we'll just keep going around. So there's one here somewhere. There we go. And there's clips on the bottom of the taillight here. Seem to be the trickiest ones. There we go. So we'll pull that down and just let it set there, because we have to disconnect this wiring harness right here. So to disconnect this wiring harness, you've got a lever here that opens it up. There's a little locking tab on the lever, so you just have to kind of push it down, pull the lever up, and then it'll basically just pull the connector apart. And our bumper is now free. So before we proceed, we'll just do a couple of notes of what I've seen so far with these instructions. I still don't know why we had to pull these screws out. As you can see, the taillight's still there. The part that we are dealing with over here on the taillights is actually these little clips right here that clip into the bumper. There's another one right there. These screws up here have nothing to do with that, so I don't think you need to take those screws out. Also over here on the bumper itself, it said in the instructions we need to take these screws out here at the corner. You don't actually need to do that. All those screws do is they hold this little plastic brace down at the bottom of the bumper. But that all comes out with the bumper, so you don't need to take these screws out of the bottom of the bumper either. Just the two plastic push pins that go here in the center. So over here at the back of the car with the bumper cover off, we can see now where the hitch is going to mount. It sort of sandwiches between the bumper beam right here. This is the actual crash structure for the car. The plastic piece on top is just for looks. It has no structural ability. This is all the structure right here, this bumper and the car itself. So the trailer hitch itself sandwiches between the bumper beam and the body of the car. So we need to take out the 3 nuts here on each side of the bumper beam. On this side we have the harness for the rear lighting and the parking sensors and everything, and also the little speaker for the noise that it plays when you're in reverse. So we just need to take these out. I believe it said that they're 15 millimeter. Set that aside. That works too. So now that we've got the bumper beam off of there, we can get a better idea of how this is supposed to mount. And it does list in the instructions that the bumper, or that the trailer hitch is supposed to sandwich in there. So, it's a little heavy. We line that up on there. Line that up there. So hopefully that will stay. So that's where the trailer hitch goes. We just put the bumper on top. Switch. So now that I've got several bolts in on the other side, I can take these back out over here so we can put this bracket back on. It goes like that. Put our screws back on, bolt or nuts I should say. So not everybody believes in torque specs and torque wrenches, but I personally do, especially for critical components like a bumper. So we're going to torque these down to 38 foot-pounds like it says in the instructions. There we go. Next step here is the only bit of modification that's really needed to install this trailer hitch, and that is that we need to cut out a little bit piece of the bumper cover here. Now this is the underside of the bumper cover. You'll never see this from outside the car, so it's not really a big deal. You're never going to notice it. All you'll see is just, the trailer hitch peeking out underneath here. And so I've marked out the dimensions here from the directions. First of all, I marked the center line of the bumper right there. I just went from these points here. It ends up being exactly 15 inches between the brackets here, so I just marked it 7.5. And I did verify that these brackets are centered. It's symmetrical on the bumper here. So that's the center line of the bumper. We need an opening that's 8 3/8. So I did 4 3/16 that way, 4 3/16 that way. That gives us an 8 3/8 width, and then 1 1/8 inch depth, I guess, or height. So I think I'm going to use, or at least try to use, a utility blade to cut this. It's pretty thin, pretty soft plastic. It should cut pretty easily. Just be careful doing that if you use like a utility blade or a razor or anything. Use something that's pretty sharp, because believe it or not, a dull razor or knife is far more dangerous than a sharp one. Now remember, of course, we do have this wiring harness that we've got to hook up over here. And then to put this back on, all we have to do, it's basically the opposite of taking it off. We just go around to each of where these clip locations are and just clip the bumper cover back into it. All right, there we go. So this is what it looks like underneath the car with the trailer hitch there. I've still got it wrapped in plastic just for protection, but it looks like it's a pretty good fit. Looks like we cut out just the right amount. And the I checked the holes there for the push pins line up just fine. So we are good to put everything back together. So over here on the sides of the bumper, we have that 7mm bolt we got to put back in here. And we start the bottom of the bumper in there, get our hole lined up, start that bottom tab in, and just clip it back in, just like that. Then here on the back side, we have another T15 Torx bolt or screw to put in. It's the one with this big plastic washer on it. Then if you're like me and you read the instructions, took these screws out of there, we need to put those back in too. Again, those ones, they don't have to come out. It says it in the instructions, they don't have to come out. Here in the fender well, we've got 2 T15 screws we got to put back in place that go through the splash guard. One there, one down here at the bottom. So here is the view of the trailer hitch from under the car. You can just kind of barely see it up there, tucked up behind the bumper cover, like that. So that's the only part that hangs down that you see. And as you can see, it fits in there pretty tight. So the only thing we have left to do here under the car is we just need to put in those 2 push pins there and then over there on the other side. And those just push into place. There you have it, installing a trailer hitch on a 2022 Chevy Bolt EUV, 2022 and newer. Hangs maybe a little bit low. It's probably about 6 inches off the ground, maybe less than that. But I think because the rear wheels are so close to the back of the Bolt, with the departure angle, it's probably not going to be a big deal getting in and out of driveways, stuff like that. I don't think it's going to scrape. And obviously nobody's taking their Bolt off-road, so who cares? Just to cover one thing, because I know it's going to come up, the Bolt is not rated to tow anything, but that does not mean that it cannot tow anything. It's just not rated to. Most of us are equipped with this thing inside our head that's called a brain that gives us some judgment. So if you're going to put this on your car and you do intend to tow with it, use some judgment. The hitch itself is rated for 2,000 pounds. I would imagine for most light duty stuff, the Bolt is going to be fine to tow a 2,000 pound trailer. But you might think twice about it if you're going to be going up and over a mountain pass or really high speeds, which you shouldn't be towing anything at high speeds anyway. But just use some judgment. Don't do anything stupid. Anyway, as far as installing it, I don't think it gets much more simple than that as far as installing a trailer hitch on a modern car where it goes up behind the bumper. That was, to me, quite simple, but my gauge of complexity for automotive stuff is probably a bit skewed since I did work for 16 years as a professional automotive technician. So, do you think this is a 10 out of 10 as far as installation difficulty? Let me know down there in the comment section. So I think that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down there in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, if you found it to be useful, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos about the Bolt EUV here or other electric cars, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help out. Otherwise, thanks for watching.